What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It is Monday, January 3rd. This is episode 42 of the Sicko Sports Podcast. Hope you guys are doing great. I'm trying to get over what the Dallas Cowboys did to me yesterday. It was a tough one for your boy. I had to watch and be frustrated. I had to be on the phone with my dad, who makes me more frustrated because he's always... Funny thing, I'm pretty sure it's just kind of like it's what happens when you're an older Dallas Cowboy fan, where everything is either Super Bowl or we're terrible. There's never in between. Week 4, we're going to the Super Bowl. Week 10, we might not make the playoffs. Week 13, we're going to the Super Bowl. Week 17, we won't win a playoff game. It's just always, there's never any balance. It's either we're the best or we're nowhere near good enough to win anything. And it's always hilarious, but to get into the conversation with him, so not only am I frustrated watching the Dallas Cowboys, I have to hear him talk about how terrible we are and just rip our team to shreds, as, you know, he should be allowed to because he's a fan, and it sucks to watch your team lose in a disappointing way. It's almost, could have been almost better if the Cowboys just went out there and they just lost. If they just went out there and the Cardinals put it on them, and what looked to be what was going to happen, which was the Cardinals were going to win, if it just kind of took place when they were up 10-0 and everything looked like it was Arizona's way, Cowboys couldn't get anything going, it's almost better if they would have just lost that way. They just never had it going. Arizona just proved to be a better team. But they give us hope, and it's the hope that kills you. They give us the hope. We make the plays finally. Defense gets stops. Offense starts putting together drives. Dak Prescott throws a touchdown. He throws another one. He throws another one. All of a sudden, we're back in the game. We throw a touchdown. We need a 2-point conversion to cut it to 3. Get them. Get them both. All we need is one stop. Get the ball back, and who knows? Maybe we take it into overtime. Maybe we win. We just got to get one stop. And we get a fumble. Fumble that wasn't called. He was ruled down. It's the hope that kills you with the Dallas Cowboys. It's just always just like a knife, like a hot knife through the heart when you watch them play. But I'm trying to get over it. Some great things going on today. I got a good podcast, good episode, a lot of good things to cover from the NFL world, but also the world of MMA as well, specifically the UFC. A lot of things going on there that I will cover. A lot of drama going in from Sunday. And then after this podcast, we actually are, me and my son, we're taking off to go watch Sing 2 at the movies. So I'm excited about today. Yes, I watch a lot of Disney movies. I have a 5-year-old. I don't watch anything else. If it's something that he can't be into, I can't watch it. So here we are. And when I say a lot of drama on Sunday, I just want to get straight into it. Let's get straight into Antonio Brown. And I want to get straight into Antonio Brown because I keep seeing a lot of nonsense about AB. People automatically coming out to his defense. He was getting frozen out. They didn't want him to hit incentives. We have to stop. We have to stop. That's not what was going on. That argument doesn't make any sense. That they were freezing him out. They wanted to keep money away from him. They didn't want to pay him. So they purposely were trying to freeze. That doesn't make sense because this wasn't his first game back. His first game back was against Carolina, in which they targeted him 13, 14 times. He had 10 receptions for 101 yards in that game. Clearly, Tom Brady was making it a point to get him his catches, to get him his yards, and to try to get him his incentives. Clearly, that's what was going on. So to say that they were trying to freeze him out, then how did they play him so much, and why did they target him so much in that Carolina game? That argument doesn't make sense. Nobody's trying to freeze him out. From the understanding is he had an issue with Bruce Arians. He said he was hurt. Bruce said, okay, well, then you're done for the game. He said, no, I'm not done for the game. He said, okay, well, then go in. He said, no, my ankle's messed up. I don't know what was going on, but we know Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians he hasn't been known as a super player-friendly coach. He's straight down the line. He's an OG. He'll give it to you. He'll give it right back. And I'm sure that's what happened. He gave AB a little. AB gave a little back. Bruce Arians gave a little more. And AB stormed off. It could be that simple, guys. No one has to be a victim. We have to stop making everybody a victim. Antonio Brown, if he's a victim, is a victim to himself. It's that simple. Nobody's doing anything to AB. The world isn't conspiring to ruin Antonio Brown. That's not what's happening. Antonio Brown shows clear signs of self-sabotage. Is there mental health issues? Probably. But only he can fix it because only he is the one controlling that. His mental health issues are not caused by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or anybody around him. It's himself. He needs help. That's what's going on with Antonio Brown. Now, if you want to say it's CTE and it's a shot to the head, yeah, we can all remember the time Antonio Brown got knocked completely unconscious in a game. A violent helmet-to-helmet hit. Maybe. I'll give you that. Maybe. But nobody's doing things to him the way people are making it seem. That's not what's happening here. And then he decides, well, not only am I going to storm off the field, but I'm going to take my clothes off. What is it about people getting angry? The most angry you'll see anybody is when they start taking clothes off. You know they're pissed. It's a very weird reaction, right? I mean, I guess if I had a great physique, maybe any emotion I had, I would just start taking clothes off, you know? Watching John Q just start taking clothes off. No matter what any emotion, whether it's happy, whether it's sad, whether it's angry, just take clothes off. If I had that type of body, shoot, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I can't blame him. It reminded me of the movie. What's the name of that movie? Juwanna Mann. It's a basketball movie. I don't know if you've seen Juwanna Mann. In the beginning of the movie, he's an NBA player. He gets pissed off. He gets angry. He starts taking his clothes off, and he literally pulls his pants down. He just pulls his pants down, gets butt naked in front of the crowd, and gets kicked out of the NBA. That's what I thought was about to happen with Antonio Brown. And I was intrigued. I said, I wonder how far he's going to go. Are the pants coming off too? I don't know. But I'm interested. Don't know if that makes me gay, but I'm not turning away. I'm not going to not look if Antonio Brown's going to get completely butt-ass naked on a football field. And if you say you would, you're lying too. If Antonio Brown took everything off and then all of a sudden grabbed his pants and were trying to pull them out, there's no way you would be like, no, I can't look. I know what's coming. You'd be just like me. You'd be scrambling for your phone. What the hell is he doing? Let me record. Antonio Brown tries to get butt naked on a field as he's leaving. And then leaves in the greatest of moods. You would expect a storm off and things being flipped and being pissed as possible. Then there's the whole report that he was extremely happy in the Uber with the Uber driver or the driver back home, that he was having the time of his life, that he looked extremely happy, proud of what happened. Weird situation. I don't know what's going on with AB. I have no idea what's going on with Antonio Brown, but man, yes, I hope he gets the help he needs, but the help he needs is himself. It's not an outside source. It's him coming to the realization that he needs help, that he needs to be able to handle and process these emotions a different way, and him going and seeking that help. That's what he needs. So this weird, we all need to help him. Nobody can help him. We all need to help Antonio Brown. Guys, they have to help themselves. Delonte West was the same scenario. Delonte West was a drug addict, is a drug addict. Former NBA player. Everybody needs to help. We all need to help Delonte West. A billionaire, and Mark Cuban couldn't help him. Took him in, put him in a program, tried to do what he could. Back on the streets doing drugs. Saw a video not too long ago of Delonte West getting arrested, where he's talking just high out of his ass, telling cops that he's an FBI agent. They're blowing his cover. What the fuck? These guys have to help themselves. Yes, you offer support. Yes, you pray that they get the help, but there's nothing the NFL can do. There's nothing the Tampa Bay Bucks can do, nor is there something that they're doing that's leading to this. It's all Antonio Brown. And it's hard to imagine that he gets another day in the NFL. At this point, it's almost impossible for me to see a scenario where Antonio Brown ends up playing again in the league. It's just going to be extremely hard to imagine that. At this point, clearly nobody's going to pick him up right now with only one game left in the season. But even next season, the best case scenario for Antonio Brown, the only way, if he wants to continue, this is with the belief that he even wants to continue to play in the NFL. He may not want to. He may not care anymore about football. He may not. But if he does, if he still wants to play in the league, his best case scenario, the only way I can see him doing that is if he disappears for an entire year. If he literally just disappears all next year and gets into zero trouble. There's no rumors. There's nothing. He doesn't contact the team. He doesn't contact players. He doesn't contact anybody. He just stays away. Then he comes back a year later. At that point, what's Antonio Brown right now? 33, 34, somewhere around there? I just don't see any. I think this is the last time we'll ever see Antonio Brown. And it sucks. It sucks that this is how we remember Antonio Brown. This is the last thing we remember about Antonio Brown. It sucks. But it's kind of fitting. It's just what Antonio Brown does. It's who he's been for a large majority of his career. So I hope he's okay. I never wish anybody go broke or get into a drug addiction, the way Delonte West did. Please don't let that happen to AB. But he needs help, but he needs to help himself. He needs help from himself. He's not a victim. The Buccaneers didn't do anything to him. If anything, the person that should be most pissed off is Tom Brady. We're talking about a guy in Tom Brady who brought Antonio Brown into his house. If you remember, they asked Bruce Arians, hey, what about Antonio Brown? We heard rumors that maybe. Bruce Arians said, we don't need Antonio Brown. He's not coming here. What do we need another receiver for? We don't need Antonio Brown. And then all of a sudden, jump to Antonio Brown's on the team. Why did that happen? Tom Brady. Tom Brady was the reason why Antonio Brown's on the team. Tom Brady took Antonio Brown into his house, had him live with him for the remainder of that year. For the remainder of the Super Bowl season. He lived with Tom Brady. He stayed with Tom Brady's family and lived with him. Tom Brady did everything he could to help him out. Not only did he help him, he also got him a Super Bowl, something Antonio Brown's never had in his life. Gets him to a Super Bowl, touchdown in a Super Bowl game, winning a Super Bowl ring. The highs of highs. Antonio Brown had it right in front of him. And then not only does that, but then gets the organization to re-sign Antonio Brown, to bring him back for another year. And he quits on him in the second quarter? Come on, man. You can't do that to some. If you're Antonio Brown, whatever happened with you and Bruce Arians on that sideline, whatever made you that upset, at the end of the day, you have a quarterback who has been your best friend, who has done more for you than anyone can imagine, who has given you these opportunities, who has helped you as much as he can possibly help you. And you quit on him. If anything, hey, whatever. You don't want me to play today? Cool, whatever. I'll talk to Tom afterwards. Or let me just go out there and play for him. Whatever the case was, whatever was going on. The fact is that Tom Brady and what Tom Brady had done for him never crossed his mind. And that's, I think, what upsets people the most. Because it's this clear sign of selfishness. It's a clear sign of selfishness when through whatever happens right there, that explosion, that Tom Brady doesn't cross your mind. He has to. Tom Brady has done so much for you that he has to cross your mind in that scenario. So it's crazy that he didn't. Other wild things going on in the league. Cowboys, I already mentioned how they lost. Dolphins lose, Colts lose, all these teams on winning streaks, all these teams that were considered to be hot teams going in the NFL, they all lose. So what are they? Dallas Cowboys, 4-game win streak. Here we go. Game against Washington. The offense is fixed. The defense is still amazing. Both sides of the ball struggled against Arizona. Both sides of the ball leave you to have reason for concern going into the playoffs. Miami Dolphins, 7-game win streak for the Miami Dolphins. And I said on Friday, here we go. If you're Miami, this is the moment. This is the game. 7-game win streak means you're not bad. If you're beating bad teams, at the very least, that means that you're not one of them. If you were one of them, you wouldn't be beating them all. You would be 500 with them. You would win a few, lose a few to these bad teams. So at the very least, the Dolphins are not a bad team, but we need to see how good of a team they are. And we're going to see with Tennessee. I said on Friday, we're going to see what they can do against Tennessee. This is their test. This is where their bar is being set for the season. And they failed that test. They failed bad. A big stinking F for the Miami Dolphins for that test. Steamrolled by Tennessee. Shout out Tennessee. Shout out Mike Vrabel. You guys know how I feel about Mike Vrabel. Dude's a freaking monster. Destroyed the Miami Dolphins. And then the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, they're the hottest team. Everyone keeps telling me that they're the biggest threat to the Chiefs. Everyone keeps telling me that it's the Colts that can beat Kansas City in Kansas City. It's the Colts because of how defense and the running game travels. It's the Colts how all these things can work out. It's the Colts that are the best team. The Colts could lose next week and not make the playoffs. The Colts' entire season comes down to this last game because they failed to beat the Raiders. Shout out to the Raiders. You guys know how I feel about Mike Vrabel. Now you guys also know how I feel about Derek freaking Carr. There's still some magic left in Derek Carr. Shout out Hunter Renfrow. These guys, Rich Bisaccia, the Raiders to me are the feel-good story. And it's hard to say because they have an owner that's a little funky. They have a coach that got fired on some, we could say some pretty racist comments, emails. I'm not saying comments because that makes it seem like it was public. He wasn't publicly racist. He was privately racist. A wide receiver who killed somebody. A corner who threatened to kill some people. So it's hard to say that they're a feel-good story when all of those things have transpired. But when you look at a guy like Rich Bisaccia, when you look at a guy like Derek Carr, you can't help but to root for them. And I'm so happy that they got the win. I am so thrilled for the Las Vegas Raiders. I am so thrilled for Derek Carr because I have been saying for I don't know how long now to put some respect on Derek Carr's name. To understand that Derek Carr is a good quarterback in this league. People get caught up on being, it's like I mentioned with my dad with the Dallas Cowboys. It's either you're the Super Bowl favorite or you're nothing. People have this weird gauge on quarterbacks. Like, you have to be a top 3 quarterback or you have no chance to win, and the team should just move on from you. And they should just continue to look for a top 3 quarterback. That's not realistic, guys. It's not the way it works. Derek Carr is good enough to be a starting quarterback for however long he plays. He will always be within the top 25 of quarterbacks available. When he's not, then you can move on. But that's not going to happen anytime until that's only going to happen with age or with injuries. So as long as he's not aging 6 years by 1 year, as long as he's not getting hurt, he's always a guy that you should label as a franchise quarterback. Very happy for Derek Carr. Green Bay, they continue to surge. The Green Bay Packers continue to look like that team. Everything is now going to run through Green Bay, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying if you are a fan of a team that's in the NFC to know that you're going to have to travel to Green Bay. Yes, if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, you might say, well, we did that last year, and we won, so it's not that big of a deal. Well, it's a different team. Your defense is banged up. Your offense is banged up. Antonio Brown's not there anymore. He's gone. Chris Godwin's out. Mike Evans has been banged up all season. This is a completely different Tampa Bay Buccaneers team from last season. Now, I'm not ruling out Tom Brady. Tom Brady's still Tom Brady. Tom Brady deserves the credit. He has earned the right to just have faith in him. He has earned that right. But it's not the same team. I don't have faith that Tampa Bay can go into Green Bay and beat them. I don't have faith. Look at the teams I mentioned. Arizona, the Los Angeles Rams, the Dallas Cowboys. All of these teams, San Francisco, all of these teams all have the same thing in common. They play in warm weather or they play in a dome. They don't even play outside. And they have to travel to Green Bay, Wisconsin and win there. And not only do you have to travel to Green Bay, but you have to travel to Green Bay and a team that probably runs the ball better than all those other ones I mentioned. A team that can run the ball in cold weather, that plays in cold weather, that has a quarterback that can throw in seems like whatever fucking weather you put him in. The NFC going through Green Bay is terrifying. I've been saying this for a few weeks now. I've been saying this for at least 2 months that Green Bay was the best team in the NFC. Green Bay might be the best team in the NFL. They've been the most impressive team to me this year. It is finally coming into fruition. I think Green Bay is going to the Super Bowl, man. I just do. It's hard for me to imagine these teams coming in, especially those teams I mentioned in specific. The Rams, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those 4 teams are playing their worst football right now. All 4 of those teams were playing much better 7, 8, 9 weeks ago. Right now, these last 3 weeks, they've been playing their worst football of the season. They've been struggling. The Rams should have lost that game. A win is a win. Absolutely, a win is a win. And at the end of the day, you want to win because you want to set yourself up. And winning builds confidence, and you want to bring confidence into the postseason, and you want to have home field advantage. So, of course, you're not going to be upset about a win. But it's not pretty. Arizona, not pretty. You had Dallas. You still almost gave it up at the end. It's not pretty. Dallas, not pretty. Tampa Bay almost lost to the Jets. How do you have confidence in any of these teams being able to go to Green Bay? I think Green Bay's biggest challenge might be San Francisco, just off of play style. To be honest, Kyle Shanahan and the way they can run the football and the way that they can. It's funny that a team from California, a team from San Francisco might be the best suited to travel to a cold weather place like Green Bay and play because of the way they play. Because they don't need Jimmy Garoppolo to be. Kyler Murray has to be incredible for Arizona. Dak has to be incredible for Dallas. Tom Brady has to be Tom Brady. Like, those guys have to be at the middle. San Francisco is the only team that, like, Jimmy G, when San Francisco's at their best, Jimmy G's not doing much. They're running the ball. Deebo Samuel's getting things going. Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle on there. It's a screen team, and it's misdirection, and it's jet sweeps and end arounds, and Deebo Samuel's in the backfield, and he's running in between tackles. It's a lot of things that don't include great play, that don't need great play from Jimmy G to make it happen. That might be their biggest threat at this point, just from play style. And I wouldn't pick them to win either. It's hard for me to imagine a team being able to beat Green Bay right now. And switching over to the AFC, it was Kansas City. I told you Cincinnati had a huge game in front of them. They had a chance. You talk about confidence builders. You talking about gaining confidence going into the playoffs. This is the biggest confidence booster you can have for Cincinnati. If they go out and win the last game of the season, they go into the playoffs on a winning streak in which they beat the number 1 team in the AFC. Cincinnati, all of a sudden, I said it was Indy. Everyone was telling me it's the Colts, it's the Colts. All of a sudden, a week later, now it's Cincinnati's a team to beat. Now Cincinnati's the hottest team coming in the AFC. Clearly, Kansas City's still the team to beat, but now it's Cincinnati that's the hottest team in the AFC. And man, Joe Burrow looked good. These last 2 games, Joe Burrow, my goodness, Joey B. He is absolutely incredible. Patriots still look good, 50 burger on the Jaguars. The Chiefs, even though they lost that game to Cincinnati, you still see that explosion from that offense where it's like, damn, they can click at any point. At any point, the only reason you have concern is this is the first week where defensively, when you look at the Chiefs, you go, oh, okay. That's kind of more of the defense we've been expecting, which is not great. They've been playing so damn good these last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, that we've kind of come to believe that, hey, this defense is going to keep us in it. And if the offense just has explosions, we'll be great. And that's how it kind of started looking like it was going to set up. The offense was hot. Defense was getting off the field. And all of a sudden, Cincinnati just flips a switch. And then Kansas City's defense just could not adjust. Could not stop Jamar Chase. Most of it was just jump balls to Jamar Chase, to be honest. A lot of press coverage, a lot of zero coverage looks, which gave a lot of one-on-one opportunity outside of Jamar Chase. And that dude, him and Joe Burrow's connection, man. Joe Burrow puts the ball perfect place. Jamar Chase can go up and get anything. Philadelphia Eagles stamped their ticket. They're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs because they won and the Vikings lost, so Philly is officially in. Win or lose to Dallas, they have made the playoffs. Shout out Philly. They've looked good in this stretch. This is going to be what Cincinnati's game was to Kansas City. It's going to be the last game of the season for the Eagles. Yes, they're in the playoffs, but obviously they can maneuver a little bit. But I know they want to beat Dallas. I was saying it the other day, it's about signature wins. Where are your signature wins on the season? Every team needs a signature win. The Cincinnati Bengals just had it. If you're Cincinnati, yes, you won the NFC North. Yes, you beat the Steelers and some of these other teams. Those aren't really signature wins. Those teams are struggling. They have been struggling. You need a signature win, a win that you can build confidence in, a win that makes you go into the postseason saying, look what we were able to do here. Cincinnati's was against Kansas City. This would be the Philadelphia Eagles' signature win against Dallas. Philly needs that win. It's cool that you beat Washington. It's cool that you beat the Giants. It's cool that you beat some of these teams. They need that signature win, and I know they want it to be the Dallas Cowboys. So expect a playoff atmosphere next week. Between Philly and Dallas, it's going to be a playoff atmosphere, for sure. But that's enough. Let me get off of the NFL. I will cover Week 18, final week of the season, and get into the playoff race and where everybody stands and what the possibilities are for teams to make the playoffs and what teams still need to happen. I will do that on Friday, but I do want to jump over to the world of MMA because there's some good, juicy Wagyu beef grilling right now in the MMA, and it's between Dana White and Jake Paul. I guess I'll say the combat sports world because Jake Paul is not in MMA. Jake Paul is not in the UFC, but him and Dana White are beefing. They're beefing hard, and I love it. Let's bring it back a little bit. Let's bring it back a little bit to how it started. Obviously, we know that Jake Paul is trying to make a living off of boxing former UFC stars. Boxing former UFC champions, boxing former MMA guys. This is where Jake Paul's making his living. And that's an issue for Dana White. Dana White has a little bit of an issue with it. Kind of starts because media members ask Dana White what he thinks. He gives his thoughts and opinions. Jake Paul fires back, and they've been going back and forth for a while now. I mean, for over a year now, they've been going back and forth. But then it starts really ticking up when Jake Paul starts accusing Dana White of cocaine use. Jake Paul's out here calling Dana White a cokehead, and you take cocaine, you use cocaine, and all these things. So Dana White comes out and publicly challenges Jake Paul and says, hey, Jake, I will do 10 years of random. I will let you randomly test me for cocaine use for the next 10 years. If I can randomly test you for PEDs for the next 2 years. That was Dana White's challenge. Well, Jake Paul then returns, and he posts this on Twitter. It's basically an ultimatum for Dana White, basically a challenge of Jake Paul's himself for Dana White. It says, 1, increase minimum fighter pay per fight to $50,000. It's $12,000 now. Number 2, guarantee UFC fighters 50% of UFC annual revenues, $1 billion in 2021. And 3, provide long-term health care to all fighters. You previously said brain damage is part of the gig. Imagine the NFL said that. There are many UFC alums who have publicly said they are suffering from brain damage. You have 5 days to accept and to implement the above by March 31st, 2022. So he has 5 days to accept, but he has until March 31st to implement all of those things. Once implemented, this is where it gets good. Once implemented, I will immediately retire from boxing, enter USADA, and agree to a one-fight deal with UFC to fight Weak Chin Jorge Masvidal. To all fighters, this is where it gets really good. This is where he gets on his Lord Voldemort shit. To all UFC fighters, time to take a stand and create value for yourselves and peers. You deserve higher pay. You deserve long-term health care, and above all, you deserve freedom. Support each other. I am not your enemy. I am your advocate who selfishly wants to KO a few of you to make some big bank. Okay, there you go. You got to finish with the hype boy shit. Because the rest of this right here, this paragraph, to all UFC fighters, time to take a stand and create value for yourselves and your peers. You deserve higher pay. You deserve long-term health care. And above all, you deserve freedom. Above all else, you deserve freedom. Support each other. I am not your enemy. I am your advocate. He didn't write that shit. He didn't write that. Somebody had his phone. Here you go. Boo, boo, boo. Typed it in the notes. Gave it back to him. He read it. And Jake Paul was like, cool. ... The ... That's Jake Paul. ... Who selfishly wants to KO a feud of you to make some big bank? Get back on that hype boy shit. It got a little too real. It got a little too political. Back to the hype boy shit to KO a few of you to make some big bank. But I love it. Is this going to happen? No. Absolutely not. No way in hell any of these things get met. No way in hell Dana White even does this. Dana White made another video saying, hey, you never agreed to my challenge. Agree to my challenge on me publicly, whatever. It's not going to happen, but it was interesting and it caused up a lot of stir. Caused some UFC fighters to come out and support Jake. Especially former UFC fighters, which of course formers are always going to talk a lot more than current. But there are some people in support of Jake Paul saying, hey, I kind of like what he's doing. Some of them come out and say, this dude's a clown. This dude's a clown. He doesn't really care about us. He's just using us for clout. But it is what it is. It was interesting at the very least. And I love the beef between Dana White. I absolutely love the beef between Dana White and Jake Paul. And speaking of beef with Dana White, Mark Hunt, walk-off king. If you know Mark Hunt, the dude is known for knocking people out unconscious and walking off in a really cool way. He is the walk-off king of KOs. And he was just ordered to pay the UFC $388,000. It's a lot of money. A lot of money that I don't think Mark Hunt has. But he has to pay them in legal fees. And you say, well, how did that happen? What happened with Mark Hunt? Well, Mark Hunt went to court. He took USADA and the UFC to court because of his match with Brock Lesnar. Mark Hunt had a fight against Brock Lesnar, a fight that he lost that was then later ruled a no contest because Brock Lesnar failed drug tests. Brock Lesnar tested positive for PED usage, and Mark Hunt's claim is that the UFC covered it up. They knew about it. They knew that he was on it, but they didn't want to give up the revenue that they were going to get from Brock Lesnar entering, so they covered it up. They let him fight with the PED usage and then came out afterwards with the reports. There's no clear evidence in that. That is just a conspiracy theory. You can't take people to court on conspiracy theories. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm not saying that there's no way that's true because I have no proof that it's not, but that's going to be a tough one for Mark Hunt to win. It's going to be tough to try to prove that the UFC knowingly put somebody in the octagon that was using PEDs and covered up a failed drug test until after the fight. It's tough to prove that in court. Very tough to prove that in court. So I'm sorry for Mark Hunt. I hope Mark Hunt's doing well. I don't know if Mark Hunt has shy of, $500,000 to give to the UFC. I don't know what Mark Hunt's income looks like. But this is a sad news. I would love to see guys like Mark Hunt and the UFC have a great relationship. I would like to see them do things in the future. It'd be so nice to see these guys be remembered and be celebrated as fighters, but when you see them go through these issues, you see them have legal battles, it's never going to happen. The UFC will never allow you to hear about Mark Hunt from them. They're not going to bring back replays and do all these things. It's over for Mark Hunt in the UFC. And it's sad to see because Mark Hunt was a fun dude to watch. Rumors of Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler. I hate it. I saw these rumors yesterday. Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, they both agreed to fight each other. They were both kind of barking at each other. Tony Ferguson was barking. Michael Chandler barked back. He said, let's do it. Chandler said, let's do it. So now there's rumors that Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler might happen, and I hate that for Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson has not looked right. Tony Ferguson has not looked good at all. His loss to Charles Oliveira was bad. His loss to Justin Gaethje took years off of his life. His loss to Beneil Dariush, really bad. He has not looked good. Now, granted, these are against the champion, the number one, and the number two ranked guys in the world. So, or number three, wherever Dariush is. So, granted, yes, he has not looked good, but he has not looked good against the three possibly best guys in the division. But you put him against Michael Chandler, who's what, number four, number five? I would love to see Tony get somebody on the outside in. Get somebody lower down the rankings. Get somebody who's kind of in the same. I would love to see Tony and Nate. Tony and Nate to me makes way more sense than Tony and Michael Chandler. I hate it for Tony Ferguson. I hate it for Tony Ferguson because I love Tony Ferguson. And Michael Chandler's a beast, man. The dude is an absolute savage. You saw what he did to Dan Hooker. You saw what he was doing in the first round to Charles Oliveira. You saw how his fight went with Justin Gaethje. Even though that fight wasn't as close, I think people misconstrue how that fight went. I went back and watched that fight not too long ago. One, it's a shame that it wasn't a 5-round fight because it's not finishing. Michael Chandler getting finished. If that's a 5-round fight, if that's a main event fight, if that's a championship fight, Michael Chandler's getting finished in the 4th round. He just is. But it wasn't. It was a 3-round fight. Maybe that's why we had more fireworks in the first round. But when I went back and watched that fight, it was a 15-minute fight. Out of those 15 minutes, Michael Chandler won one. Justin Gaethje won about 14 minutes of that entire fight. It wasn't really that close. Michael Chandler had him hurt. He hit Gaethje big, a huge bomb, had him wobbled, had him hurt. Give all the credit in the world. Michael Chandler is a monster. But outside of that, every round it was like, Justin Gaethje had that one. Justin Gaethje had that one. Every exchange, even when Michael Chandler was landing, it's not like Michael Chandler wasn't landing the rest of the fight, but even when he did, Justin Gaethje would come back with bigger shots, more impactful shots. That fight wasn't as close as people remember. That fight was cool because Michael Chandler is a savage and Justin Gaethje is a savage. And because Michael Chandler did land a huge shot and Justin Gaethje had to come back from that huge shot, that's why that fight was Fight of the Year candidate. That's why that fight was entertaining. That first round was nuts. After that, it was all Gaethje. But you can see in that fight how much of a monster Michael Chandler is. A freaking savage, man. So to put him against Tony Ferguson, I don't like it. I don't like it all. And speaking of savages, speaking of monsters, speaking of gangsters, Khamzat Chimaev. What the hell is going on with Khamzat Chimaev? When are we going to see him in there? Who is he going to fight? Dana White keeps saying nobody wants to fight him. Nobody wants to fight him. We're seeing guys like Neil Magny and Bilal Muhammad and specifically continue to call out Khamzat. Continue to call him out and say, let's fight. Neil Magny is damn near begging Dana White in the UFC, please, I'm telling you guys, I want to fight him. It's hilarious to see, right? Dana, nobody wants to fight this guy. Nobody's trying to fight Khamzat. And Neil Magny's just behind him, waving his hand. Hey, I want to fight him. I want to fight him. And Dana just, nobody wants to fight him. Me, I'm trying to fight him. I'm telling you guys, nobody wants to fight him. I don't know when they're going to make the fight happen. I don't know what they're waiting for. If they're waiting for something, I don't know. It's really odd to me that we haven't seen the fight get announced between Khamzat Chimaev and Neil Magny or Bilal Muhammad. Even Vicente Luque said he would fight him. Now, Vicente Luque was a little different. That was kind of like, if they call me and tell me, hey, you and Khamzat, for sure, let's do it, no problem. But he wasn't like, I want to fight him. We need to get that fight booked. Neil Magny has been like, please, let's get this fight booked. Please let me fight him. Bilal Muhammad, let's get it going. Let's do it. Dana tagged everybody they need to tag in. Let's make it happen. Why we haven't seen these fights announced, I don't know. It might be because it's vacation time. Dana White and these dudes probably are just like, we're not hearing shit. We'll get back to it when we get back, January 15th or whatever. Then we'll start setting up fights. So I'm assuming one of the two they have to happen. Whether it's Neil Magny, whether it's Bilal Muhammad, one of those two fights have to get set up for Khamzat. Obviously, Bilal would be the one that I think Khamzat would want more so than Neil Magny because it brings him closer to a title belt. Khamzat looks like he's in absolutely no way, shape, or form trying to slow stimmer this bitch. He's not trying to slow cook this career. It seems like he wants to get to a title shot immediately. It seems like he wants to get to Kamaru Usman immediately. So fighting someone like Bilal Muhammad, it could put him in that area. It could put him in that arena. That's what it looks like for Khamzat. But I'm interested to see. It's interesting that he hasn't had the fight announced yet, because he wants it, and he wants it bad. So it's interesting to me to see that they just haven't made it happen, and has to be made to one of those two guys. Man, what a great fight, Khamzat Chimaev and Bilal Muhammad. Khamzat's one of those rare dudes. We don't see guys like Khamzat very often. We see guys with flair, we see guys with confidence, and then we see guys with substance, with skills. Very rarely do we see all of those things come together. Very rarely. Even somebody like Paddy the Baddy, for example. Paddy Pimblett, rising star, huge prospect. Huge name coming into the UFC. A lot of eyes on his debut. Gets a signature knockout in the UFC. Blows up, video goes viral, all that good stuff. It's still not quite the same. Even someone like Paddy Pimblett, he has the flair, he has the confidence. But the substance, he still got cracked in that fight. He still got cracked hard, and a lot of people have the notion that if he doesn't improve on his striking defense, if he can't avoid these shots, he's not going to go on this type of run that he thinks or other people think he might go on. It's the substance as well with the confidence. I don't really care too much about flair. Like flair and all that's more so for marketing, marketability, pay-per-view sales. That's what that goes into. But I'm talking about legitimately, you can rise to the top and be a champion. You can be a superstar champion. You have to have confidence and substance behind it. And Khamzat has that in a way that really only Conor had. Conor was really the last person where there's a difference. There's a difference between confidence in, I think I should win. I believe that I could win this fight. I put in the hard work. I put in the training. I trust in my training and my hard work, and I think it's going to show. And I build confidence off of my hard work. There's a difference between that type of confidence, which is more like Dustin Poirier and Leon Edwards and these type of guys. And then there's a confidence of Conor McGregor, Khamzat Chimaev, where I'm just going to run through you. I'm just going to destroy you. It's not about a sport. It's not about the work ethic. It's not about, I did all that. I'm going to kill you. I'm just going to destroy you. That type of confidence. Conor had it when he came into the UFC. No one could take my shots. No one could take this left hand. I'm going to put everybody down. I'm going to knock everybody out. And then he gets into the UFC, and then it's a substance. It's the skill set behind it. KOs were spectacular. The fight against, who was it, Brimage, those uppercuts and the striking, and he was just such a different level of striker than everybody else. He was knocking dudes out without facing any real damage, without ever being in trouble, and we started saying, oh crap, this dude, not only does he talk the talk, but he walks the walk as well. Khamzat's that type of guy. Not only does Khamzat truly, when he looks into a camera, when he looks into his opponent's face and he says, I'm going to smash you, you believe it. You can see that he, in his mind, it's not a I think, it's an I know I'm going to smash this guy. I know it. You have no chance. Khamzat gives his opponent zero chance in his mind to win the fight. Zero. There's not a way in hell you can beat me. You believe it with Khamzat, and then he goes out there. And it's one thing to go out there and win, and you somehow find a way to win, or you're winning by decision. He goes out there and doesn't get touched. He's not getting touched. He's finishing fights without a single strike landed on him. Just complete smashing people. We haven't seen that since Conor. Now, yes, is his marketability going to be as high as Conor? Probably not. Conor's a very rare breed, man. Conor's a very, very rare breed of person. To have somebody come into the UFC, to talk the way he talks, to be as good on the mic, to be as good as on a microphone, his ability to articulate himself, the quotable lines that Conor had, mixed in with the ability to win fights, mixed in with the way he dresses and the luxurious life. It's hard to imagine seeing that from anybody. Connor's truly a one of one in that department. But Hamzat can do it, maybe not for America. Maybe his English won't ever be good enough to really be on a whole bunch of commercials and do all these things, and everything's cameras on him all the time. Maybe he doesn't even want that. He's not a flashy guy. He doesn't want all the glitz and the glamour. I don't know. I don't know him personally. Maybe he is. But Connor's just such a one of one. It's hard to imagine anybody really imitating what Conor McGregor did. But Hamzat could do it in his own way. Hamzat had a line already that's quotable. A few of them. Hamzat came out and said, this guy is gangster. This guy, he's a gangster. He's like, he laughs about it. Says, he's a gangster guy. Okay. He says, I eat gangsters for breakfast. And you believe it. He said, I eat gangsters. I'm like, he said, I'm a real gangster. I'm a real gangster. I'm like, I believe it. Hamzat just looks like the type of guy that would probably be out here doing hits on people. He'd be out here killing people for money. He'd be a mercenary. Doesn't mean he's bad. I think Hamzat's probably a good guy. But you know what I mean. He's that level of scary. Which, thank God they didn't set up Nate Diaz and Hamzat. That fight was really trying to be made. What the hell? Nate Diaz is not as dumb as people think he is. Nate Diaz saw that and went, no. Remember Red and Debo? He said, it's my bike, punk. Knocked him out, and his dad coming back out. Dad got out of the car. Debo said, you want some of this too, old man? Nope. That's Nate Diaz. Nope. Don't want any part of that motherfucker. You guys aren't setting me up for that. You're not setting up Nate Diaz like that, man. What's wrong with you? You can set Nate Diaz up like that? Thank God Nate said hell no to that one. But now Nate Diaz is saying hell no to Dustin Poirier. That's crazy to me. I really thought that would be the fight. That would be a fight to make. But apparently Nate's not down. Dustin called him out. Hey, Nate, let's make it happen. Let's do it. Nate's response was, you're not big enough. You don't sell enough pay-per-views, or you're not good enough. He said something. Basically, he was just like, nah, I'm good. Wonder what Nate's waiting for. I wonder what is Nate waiting for? Is it who everyone's waiting for, apparently? The return of Conor McGregor? Is that what he's waiting for? Apparently, everybody's waiting for Conor to come back. Between Dustin, between Nate, Michael Chandler wants a piece of Conor. Max Holloway wants a piece of Conor. Charles Oliveira said, hey, forget Justin Gaethje. Let me just chill and wait till Conor comes back and fight him instead. Justin Gaethje said, I'll burn this fucking place to the ground if they don't give me a title shot, and they give Conor McGregor a title shot after losing 2 fights in a row. That would be some shit. Talk about Dana White privilege. Oh my God, if Conor McGregor got a title shot over Justin Gaethje, simply because, and I want it. That's the messed up part of it all, is I really want it for Charles Oliveira, because I'm like, dude, he deserves that money. It's a payday. Give him that payday, man. I love Charles. Please, 2022, keep the belt in Charles Oliveira's possession. I don't want Charles to lose to anybody. And that includes Conor, which is crazy because you know how big of a Conor McGregor fan I am. But I don't want Charles Oliveira to lose a belt to anybody, man. I love Charles Oliveira. Love what he stands for. Love who he is. Dude's a true freaking champion. And just still, for some reason, such an underdog. He was an underdog against Michael Chandler. He became the champion. Underdog against Dustin Poirier in his first title defense. Retained the championship bout. If he fights Gaethje, man, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the underdog to Gaethje as well. I haven't seen the early lines, but I wouldn't be surprised if people made Gaethje the favorite in that fight. Man, I hope Charles Oliveira continues that reign. And then I mentioned Max Holloway wanting Conor McGregor. Max Holloway has so many options available. Don't know what's going on with Max, right? Him and Volk seems like the obvious thing, but he did talk about Conor. He did talk about maybe moving up to 55 and seeing if there's anything interesting there. There's a lot of chances here for Max Holloway. There's a lot of opportunity for Max Holloway here. But I do want to see him and Volk again. I do. And a lot of people were like, why? You know, they fought twice. Volk won both. Even though they were both by decision. Even though a lot of people felt, especially one of them, could have gone Max Holloway's way. At the end of the day, it's still 2-0 Volk. But I want to see it. What better fight is there for Volkanovski than Max Holloway? Make it happen. I want to see that made done. 2022 should be the return of the Sugar Show as well. I know Sean O'Malley has a broken thumb right now. He has a broken finger. He said it's about 3 weeks. Cast comes off. He's good to go. So he won't miss any time. I know he planned on maybe fighting somewhere around March, April. So it seems like that can still be on track. A March or April return could still be possible. At the very latest, May. I know he's not looking to fight June, July, anytime like that. So March, April, May, somewhere in that time frame, we'll see the return of Sean O'Malley. But I'm interested to see who the return is to, because he's ranked now. He's no longer the unranked champ. He's ranked. So what do we see from Sean O'Malley? Who does he fight? Cody Garbrandt's talking a lot. But wouldn't that be, to me, that would be such a Sean O'Malley matchup. It's a big, notable name in Cody Garbrandt. And for him, it's just like, I just want the name and the eyeballs. I don't care that he hasn't won a fight in a while since the Sun Sao. Sun Sao was his last fight. I don't care that he's lost, 4 of his last 5 or lost 5 out of his last 6. I think Cody's lost 5 out of his last 6 fights. Golly. But Sean O'Malley wouldn't care. It's just the name. I just want the name. Give me the name. I'm going to go in there and try to put together a spectacular performance. I'm going to try to get a viral KO. Add to my money bags. Add to my fame. Add more followers. That's what Sean O'Malley wants. So for him, I could see him still taking that Cody fight. But there's other really good fights for him there. That Cheeto fight, that Cheeto rematch is still looming. But the point is, Sean O'Malley's no longer going to fight somebody who we don't recognize their name. There's no Chris Moutinho's anymore. There's no more guys like that. I would say Louis Smolka. Obviously, that fight didn't happen. We know kind of who Louis Smolka was. We knew who Eddie Wineland was and Thomas Almeida was. So those guys were kind of notable names, but definitely not in the trajectory of trying to get to a championship. They were not on the upward trajectory. He caught them on the way down. So he's not going to be able to catch people on the way down. Cody, obviously, yes, he'd have to be a big-time star. So that's why somebody like Cody could make sense. That's why somebody like Frankie Edgar could make sense. But the best matchups for him are Cheeto, Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font. Those are interesting matchups that would be really cool to see. But I guarantee you the next fight for Sean is going to be one of two things. Either a really tough matchup for Sean, a really interesting matchup for Sean, somebody in the top 10, or it's going to be a huge name like Cody Garbrandt. Another thing that I saw that people were getting upset about, and I understand why I feel it, was Juliana Pena wins Fighter of the Year. And I get it. I get why it makes no sense in hell why Juliana Pena would be Fighter of the Year. Because it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. Even if you were to split Fighter of the Year into male Fighter of the Year and female Fighter of the Year, you had 2 different categories. Even if that were the case, there's no reason why Juliana Pena would win it over a Rose Namajunas, or especially over a Valentina Shevchenko, who has been so damn dominant. Valentina has dominated her division. She is a dominant champion, and Juliana Pena wins it because she won one fight. Juliana Pena won one fight against Amanda Nunes. Now I get it; she was the underdog, the biggest underdog. But give her that award, Underdog of the Year. Absolutely, Juliana Pena. But Fighter of the Year because you won one fight over Valentina Shevchenko, over Rose Namajunas. Man, that's tough. Over Kamaru Usman? I mean, all right. Listen, I love a feel-good story just like anybody else. But Juliana Pena being Fighter of the Year, come on, man. Come on. Great for her, though. Give her flowers. Yes, she deserves everything she gets. To be able to do what she did was very impressive. But Fighter of the Year? All right. And then this month, obviously, UFC returns. UFC Fight Night. Calvin Kattar, Giga, Shikadzie, January 15th. That's going to be a Fight Night free fight on ESPN+. Really looking forward to that one. A little nervous for Calvin Kattar. I really like Calvin Kattar, but the way he was able to get hit, the way that Max was able to really pick him apart, not a good look when you have someone like Giga coming in. Especially Giga, who has those crazy kicks, the body kicks, leg kicks. He mixes up levels of his kicks, has the hands behind it. It's going to be a tough one for my boy Calvin Kattar, unfortunately. But I'm rooting for him. I hope Calvin Kattar comes out on top. I hope he gets that one done. And then the very next week, January 22nd, is the big boy UFC 270. Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo, Jared Cannonier, Derek Brunson, Greg Hardy, Aleksei Oleinik. All these names. It's a big-time pay-per-view. It's a big-time card. Big boys on there. Brandon Moreno, I mentioned Charles Oliveira. I said how I wanted Charles to finish 22 as a champion. The other person who I need to finish as a champion in 2022 is Brandon Moreno. I want both of those guys to remain champions. Those are two of probably my two favorite champions in the entire UFC, just because they're probably the most doubted. When you look at Brandon Moreno, I think people still in the back of their mind are like, okay, Davidson's going to win this one. Davison won the first, Brandon Moreno won the second. Figueiredo's going to come in better, more prepared, and he's going to win the third. I feel like people think that. And for Charles Oliveira, I already mentioned, he's an underdog against Chandler. He was an underdog against Dustin Poirier. I love guys who just champions who can prove people wrong. Champions who, for some reason, even though they hold the belt, continue to be doubted, and then they just keep proving people wrong. Every title defense, this is the guy. He's going to beat him. And then they just keep proving them wrong. For guys like Adesanya and Kamaru Usman, yes, I can appreciate them. Valentina Shevchenko, all these people, yes, I can appreciate dominance as well. But it's almost at a point where nobody's really giving too much credit. A lot of people are believers in Robert Whittaker, but there's still an overwhelming amount of people who think that Israel Adesanya is going to do the same thing to him. There's a lot of people that were believers in Colby Covington, but a lot of people just thought that Kamaru Usman, doesn't matter how good Colby is, Kamaru Usman's just a little bit better. Colby can beat everybody in the division but Kamaru Usman. And everybody, these Jorge Masvidals and Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad and all these, they don't have a chance against Kamaru. The only person that stands a chance against Kamaru is Colby, and he's not quite good enough. So I can appreciate dominance, but I love it when champions are doubted, when champions are considered to be not good enough. They're fucking champions. But that's it. That's all that's going to wrap up episode 42. I'll be back on Wednesday. It's going to be more NBA heavy on Wednesday. I told you guys, I promised you. MMA Mondays, NBA Wednesdays, Football Fridays. That's what we're going to stick with. Like I said, I'm always going to be able to bring in topics the way I did. Just kind of touch on the NFL as we came into the podcast. But I made sure that we were big heavy on MMA. MMA will obviously be more prevalent when I'm able to break down fights, watch fights, and when the UFC is back and having events. So NBA on Wednesday. Look forward to it. I'll be back Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central as always. Thank you guys for being with me. Tell a friend. Be a friend. Tell a friend. Share the podcast. Keep sharing it out there. We keep growing, and I love you guys for it. Thank you so freaking much. Love y'all. Have a good Monday. Peace.